What if every Straw Hat that doesn't possess a devil fruit had a devil fruit that matched perfectly with their fighting style and personality? Some of these powers were even hinted at by Oda himself, and they would completely change the balance of the One Piece world. In this video, we'll discuss the devil fruits that would perfectly suit these characters. Without any further ado, let's dive right into it. Firstly, let's talk about Roronoa Zoro. The first devil fruit that would suit Zoro really well is the Hana Hana no Mi. This Paramecia-type devil fruit allows the user to sprout body parts anywhere, along with creating clones and even demonic forms. For Zoro, this would be insanely useful because it would mean more arms and, of course, more swords. As a kid, Zoro truly believed that the more swords he used, the stronger he would become, and this devil fruit makes that dream possible. At his strongest, Zoro already fights with 9 swords using his Ashura form, and this devil fruit would push that even farther. It also fits his demonic aura perfectly. At that point, Zoro would stop getting lost on the battlefield, and his enemies would get lost trying to count how many swords he's swinging. The second, and far more insane option, is the Uo Uo no Mi Model Seiryu. This is the same mythical devil fruit used by Kaido, and it allows the user to transform into a massive dragon or a dragon-human hybrid. It grants control over elements like fire, lightning, and wind, which would turn Zoro from a swordsman into a full-scale natural disaster. Oda himself has already mentioned that if Zoro were to ever get a devil fruit, this is the one he would have, which pretty much settles the debate. With this devil fruit, Zoro would gain monstrous strength dragon scales that make his body nearly impossible to damage and elemental attacks on top of his already strong haki. At that point, he wouldn't be getting lost anymore. The enemies would be getting lost trying to survive him. After this, we have God Usopp. The first devil fruit that would suit Usopp perfectly is the Poke Poke no Mi. This devil fruit once belonged to Flamenco from the Whitebeard Pirates, and Oda himself said that if Usopp ever ate a devil fruit, this would be the one. It allows the user to create pockets in their body to store anything inside. For Usopp, this is basically unlimited inventory space. He could carry pop greens, dial ammo, and even his Kuro Kabuto without ever running out of room. No more panic searching for weapons mid-fight, although, knowing Usopp, he would still scream anyway. The second devil fruit that fits Usopp really well is the Suke Suke no Mi. This Paramecia-type devil fruit allows the user to turn invisible along with anything they touch. For a sniper, this ability is completely broken. Usopp could hide perfectly set up shots from anywhere and even make his projectiles invisible. His enemies would get taken out without ever knowing where the attack came from. At that point, Usopp wouldn't be a brave warrior of the sea, he would be a terrifying ghost with a slingshot. Next up, let's talk about Nami. Considering Nami's personality and her abilities, the devil fruit that would suit Nami perfectly is the Goro Goro no Mi. This is the Logia-type devil fruit used by Enel, and it allows the user to control, become, and produce lightning at will. Lightning is already Nami's specialty thanks to Zeus, so this fruit would feel like a straight upgrade rather than a change. She would go from borrowing thunder to literally becoming it. Even Zeus would probably start calling her boss instead. Oda himself said that if Nami ever ate a devil fruit, this would be the one, and that alone says everything. With this power, Nami would instantly become one of the most feared pirates of the seas. Her reputation would skyrocket, and her bounty would easily reach insane levels. At that point, people wouldn't be scared of storms anymore. They'd be scared of red-haired navigators with attitude problems. The second devil fruit that fits Nami is the Love fruit. This Paramecia allows the user to turn anyone who feels love, admiration, or lust into stone. And let's be honest, Nami would break this fruit instantly. She could literally defeat enemies just by existing. If that somehow doesn't work, she can still turn them to stone by attacking directly or firing petrification beams. Nami wouldn't even need weather tactics anymore, her looks would be the weapon, and the battlefield would be full of statues by the end of the fight. The next devil fruit that would suit Usopp perfectly is the Poke Poke no Mi. This devil fruit once belonged to Flamenco of the Whitebeard Pirates, and Oda himself said that if Usopp were to ever eat a devil fruit, this would be the one. It allows the user to create pockets on their body and store almost anything inside. For Usopp, this is insanely powerful considering he relies on pop greens, dials, ammo, and multiple weapons like the Kurokabuto. He would basically have an infinite inventory and never have to worry about running out of tools. Of course, knowing Usopp, he would still panic, but at least this time it would be with full pockets. The second devil fruit that fits Usopp extremely well is the Suke no Mi. This Paramecia-type devil fruit allows the user to become invisible and also turn anything they touch invisible. For a sniper, this ability is absolutely terrifying. Usopp could hide his presence, completely line up perfect shots, and even make his attacks invisible. If this fruit were awakened, his bullets could be impossible to detect. At that point, enemies would be getting sniped without ever seeing Usopp, and he would finally be scary for the right reasons. Now that we're done talking about Usopp, it's about time we talk about Sanji here as well. The first devil fruit that would suit Sanji really well is the Goro no Mi. This Logia-type devil fruit allows the user to become lightning itself and freely control it. It's currently used by Enel, but in Sanji's hands it would become even scarier. Sanji is already insanely fast, and after Wano, he's far surpassed his brothers who can move faster than lightning. Giving him this fruit would turn him into a literal yellow blur, and good luck to anyone trying to land a hit on that. The attack power boost would be ridiculous. Sanji already generates fire with Ifrit Jinbe, and the Goro no Mi would take that to another level. On top of that, this fruit also allows the user to sense radio waves, which would massively enhance Sanji's observation haki. Enel's mantra was strong mainly because of his fruit, and Sanji already has elite observation. Combine the two, and Sanji would start dodging attacks before his opponent ever finishes thinking about them. The second devil fruit that fits Sanji perfectly is the Mera no Mi. This Logia-type devil fruit allows the user to become fire and freely create and control flames. Sanji has always been linked to fire through Diable Jambe, and now Ifrit Jambe, which uses blue flames that burn even hotter. Oda's also revealed that Sanji has high resistance to fire due to his genetic modifications, which makes this fruit an even better match. With the Mera no Mi, Sanji would gain a full Logia body and be able to attack with flames from a distance, something he usually avoids. When combined with his black leg style, this would make him a nightmare in close and mid-range combat. At that point, Sanji wouldn't just be cooking meals for the crew, he'd be cooking his enemies mid-fight. After Sanji, we have Jinbe. The first devil fruit that would suit Jinbe really well is the Shibo no Mi. This Paramecia-type devil fruit is currently used by Charlotte Smoothie, and it allows the user to wring out moisture from a living being and absorb it into their own body. Jinbe already has incredible control over water through Fishman Karate, so this fruit would fit him perfectly. He could drain water from enemies and immediately turn it into devastating attacks. At that point, fighting Jinbe near the ocean wouldn't just be a bad idea, it would be a terrible life choice. The second devil fruit that fits Jinbe is the Kira no Mi. This Paramecia-type devil fruit allows the user to turn their body into diamond, giving them insane durability and power. Even Mihawk was unable to cut Jozu during Marineford, and that alone says everything. If Jinbe had this fruit, his already powerful Fishman Karate would hit even harder while his defense would become nearly unbreakable. Jinbe would basically turn into a walking tank that punches with the force of the sea itself. Lastly, we have Franky. I believe Buki no Mi is the devil fruit that would suit Franky perfectly. This Paramecia-type devil fruit is currently used by Baby 5, and it allows the user to turn their entire body into any weapon they want. This fruit feels like it was made for Franky. He's obsessed with weapons and already turns half his body into artillery without any devil fruit. With this power, Franky could literally become the ultimate weapon. And knowing his scientific brain, he would probably build something completely over the top. At that point, the world government would stop chasing pirates and start chasing Franky blueprints. The second devil fruit that fits Franky extremely well is the Nikyu no Mi. This Paramecia-type devil fruit belongs to Bartholomew Kuma, and the similarities are obvious. Both are cyborgs with insane durability, and both can fire devastating attacks from their bodies. Kuma has Ursa Shock, and Franky has Coup de Vent, so the energy is already the same. With this fruit, Franky would gain the power to repel anything at incredible speeds, including attacks, pain, and even memories. Franky would absolutely love this power, and honestly, the crew would love it too because he would become a walking cheat code with cola-powered confidence. Very super! That's it, folks! Let me know what devil fruits do you guys think would suit these characters.